call today, and this is recorded. Thank you all. As you all know, because you're on the call, that Bank On North Carolina is here. Yay! So we're so excited about that. And we have been working very closely with our partners at the North Carolina Bankers Association to bring all of the banks on board. And we are talking with our nonprofit partners like you guys to talk about what that looks like in terms of implementing that to extend it or scale it to all North Carolinians. So that is what today's Zoom or today's meeting will be focused on. I'm sorry, I'm having screen issues, of course, and it's not working. Anyway, so do you have the slide up, Maria, or am I doing that?
I have them up. Can you not see them?
Yeah, but it's probably like my computer is being a little wonky, so no worries. Okay. I'm just trying to see where we're at, but I will just keep going. By now, we're all probably pretty familiar with Zoom. We ask that you stay muted during this time, but please feel free to use the chat feature to interact with us or to raise your hand or to unmute yourself if you have a question because it's a small crowd. But if you're not talking to us, please stay muted. And so the agenda today, first, my friend Paige from the Cities from Financial Empowerment Fund is going to talk with us about Bank On. Most of you know about it, but she's going to give us a high-level overview in case some of you are not as familiar with it. And then Matt Trombley from the CEF Fund is going to talk with us about program integration, which is where all you guys come in. What does this look like at a nonprofit? How can we integrate this? How can we take what we're doing and include Bank On into that without changing a lot of what we're already doing? And then after that, we'll talk about ways that you can all engage what we're calling the Bank On Coalition, which is really like the administrative group or body that is behind Bank On North Carolina. So now I'm going to hand it over to Paige. And Paige, if you do have a presentation, just select that screen share, and Maria, stop sharing her screen now. Thank you.
Okay, let me. Can you see the slides? I will. There we go. See it now in my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I do have some slides. I probably won't go through all of these because I want to make sure that you have ample time to talk through program integrations and hear from all of the attendees. But I will quickly provide this overview of the Bank On National Movement. So it's really nice to meet you all. I hope that we get into some great conversation today. My name is Paige Diner. I'm with the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. We run a number of programs that focus on financial stability initiatives, including financial counseling, one-on-one as a public service, consumer financial protection, and of course, what we're here to talk about today, banking access, safe banking access with the Bank On movement. So talk a little bit about what this looks like nationally, what the coalitions are up to locally, and then we will be able to shift focus on really the role of nonprofits and how you can benefit the communities that you're working in. So taking a step back, just, why does this work matter so much? Why is Bank On a national movement of major players, of local coalitions, of financial institutions that are working together to increase access to safe and affordable bank and credit union accounts? There's a number of data showing the importance of banking access. You can look at the FDIC unbanked survey on economicinclusion.gov. There's some really interesting points in there, particularly around why people might be unbanked. So you can look at things like that the most common reason that people don't have a banking account is that they feel that they don't have enough money.
Wow, where's my headphones at?
You can also see that a lot of people don't feel welcomed in the financial institution. That remains a problem, even with the online banking arena. Some of the pieces that I like to call out, in addition to the FDIC unbanked survey, that I find really important when I think about why we're doing this work are, you can see on screen, and I'll just walk you through those really quickly. So the average unbanked person spends 10% of their income on alternative financial services fees. So that means pawn shops, payday lenders, check cashers, auto title lending, anything that's really outside the financial mainstream in order to accomplish someone's everyday tasks like cashing your own paycheck or paying a bill. This can amount to over $40,000 over a lifetime. That's a significant amount for anybody. These other two stats come directly from our research at the CFE Fund. So in addition to Bank On, I mentioned we have another program, the Financial Empowerment Center Initiative. That's where we work directly with cities and county governments to offer free financial counseling one-on-one as a public service. It's available to all residents in that municipality or county. A few years ago, we did an evaluation of 5 of those cities that we were working in, and we found that unbanked financial counseling clients were half as likely to increase savings and over a third less likely to establish a new credit score. Additionally, unbanked clients who became banked during that counseling process were almost 8 times more likely to increase their savings. Really showing that banking status can boost those other outcomes that you may be working toward with your clients. Just looking at a snapshot, since I'm kind of covering the overview, Bank On North Carolina is working with a number of other coalitions. In fact, I think this number is up to 95, and the certified accounts are up to 200 already. So there is a lot going on across the country. There are coalitions working in almost every state on this same work. So really bringing together the major players to connect people to safe and affordable accounts that are available locally. I'm gonna skip that just for sake of timing. But when we think about a coalition, so many of you might already be part of Bank On North Carolina. Some of you might be hearing about it for the first time and you're interested in learning how to get involved. But really what the heart of a coalition are these 4 buckets of membership. So of course you can't do the work without financial institutions, because you need the banks and credit unions that are committed to serving the population with safe and affordable accounts. So without the certified accounts that I'm going to talk about in just a second, you don't know as a service provider how to make these referrals. Who do you send clients to? How do you know which accounts are safer or more affordable than others? And so our certification process helps you to determine that in an objective way. So you're not making any subjective referrals based on where you bank or who's close by or a funder or something like that. It really allows you to have an objective vetting process for safe and affordable accounts. And then the community-based organizations. So of course, without the nonprofits and service providers, this work wouldn't exist. You're not only the trusted voices in the community, but you're the people that are working directly with those that might be unbanked or underbanked that can truly benefit from this work. You'll be able to attend coalition meetings and say, this is a program where I think we need to integrate banking access, and this is how we can do it. So without your brainstorming efforts and your connection and your advocacy, the coalition would just be really a flyer that someone's distributing and not really that actionable piece. Local government, so typically someone from local government, whether that's state, county, city, is key to the coalition. It helps to prioritize it, puts pressure on the financial institutions, again, helps with those connections to different service providers. And then lastly, federal banking regulators. So most coalitions have the FDIC or a Federal Reserve Bank, again, to put pressure on the financial institutions, have that convening power, that sort of thing. I keep talking about the Bank On National Account Standards, and I want to just quickly overview what these are. So we have a set of standards that we developed almost a decade ago in partnership with FDIC and consumer advocates of what makes an account safe and affordable. We revisit these standards every 2 years, and we certify products that are available anywhere in the country that meet these standards. Most of these connections come directly from coalitions. So it's coalitions like Bank On North Carolina that say, hey, I know a community bank or I know a credit union that has an account that's similar or that wants to provide one of these safe, affordable accounts. Can you help them do that? And then we work with them. I'm not going to read you the standards, but I am going to touch on the most important parts of them. So the safety. Most important to any account that we certify as safe and affordable as meeting our standards is that it cannot have overdraft, no overdraft fees. So over and over, people are pushed out of the financial mainstream because they are hit with overdraft fees throughout the month that are stacked against them. So you have to pay back the most expensive ones first. They're hard to predict. I mean, you have to be on your phone checking your balance every 5 seconds to make sure you never get hit with an overdraft fee. So really, and that usually results in people just closing their account and leaving the financial mainstream altogether. So to address that, any account that meets the standards cannot have overdraft fees. In most cases, financial institutions will just make it so you can't overdraw at all. So say you go in the grocery store and you're $5 over your balance, it's just going to decline. And that will, save the next step of having to then fund the account back up. So other financial institutions will let the purchase go through, but the account is essentially useless until you put that money back in, but there are no fees associated with it. Similarly, there are no insufficient funds fees. So you'll never be charged a fee for not having enough money in your account and perhaps making an accidental purchase, not realizing that, or paying a bill, not realizing that. There are no dormancy fees. So say you have, you're working with someone who is in seasonal employment and they're only working in the summer months in tourism or something, or agriculture, and they are just getting paid for 3 months out of the year. Those other months, those off months, when they're not touching the account, they're essentially using the account, say, as a savings account. There's no charge for that. There's no fee. You're not getting punished for not touching your account in the off months. So that was really important to us as well. The affordability, so any account meeting the standards is a monthly fee of $5 or less, often with multiple ways to waive it, with one swipe a month, or setting up online account or online banking. So there are really easy ways to waive it. The importance of this here is in doing our research with consumers, we learned quickly that it's much easier to budget in a $2 fee per month or a $4.99 fee per month, instead of having 3 or 4 overdraft fees hit throughout the month that you can't predict. So this was a much more appealing approach. And then what I find a really important piece to this is the low minimum opening deposit and low maintenance balance. So again, that FDIC research shows us that people don't have an account because they feel they don't have enough money to open an account. And that a lot of that comes from, if you've ever looked at the opening balance for an account, it's often $200, $150. That's significant. So any account that meets our standards, that minimum opening deposit is capped at $25 or less. And then lastly, the accounts are functional. So they're used to pay bills. You can use online account access. You can, if the financial institution doesn't have free online bill pay, there's 4 free money orders every month instead. So there's always a way to pay bills for free. You have full access to customer service. So one thing that we saw before these standards existed is some financial institutions were almost making what they called second chance accounts, where account holders were not allowed to access customer service or not allowed in the branch. It was almost like a second class account. So we wanted to make sure that was definitely not the case with any account that we were certifying. So everybody has to have full access to the financial institution as any other account holder would. I'm going to quickly wrap this up so that I haven't looked at the chat, but I see there's stuff coming in. When we do approve an account, the financial institution receives this official certification. They're added to our materials. All the coalitions in their footprint are alerted, and then the coalitions can start to work with them on these program integrations. And this is really where I'm going to turn it over to the core topic for today. But what our coalitions are doing is not only getting these financial institutions certified, but taking Bank On one step further. So identifying programs and services in the community where banking access can be woven into the program infrastructure. You'll hear a bit about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But a lot of coalitions have been successful when there's payment streams. So say it's a Vita site where people are getting tax refunds, or people are signing up for unemployment benefits or workforce development or utility reimbursements. Anywhere a client is receiving money is the opportunity to ask, how do you want to receive this money? Do you want paper check or direct deposit? And if somebody indicates that they don't have an account for direct deposit, that right there is a banking opportunity. And we can make sure to connect someone right then in that moment to a safe and affordable account. And Matt's going to talk a little bit about how we do that. So I'm really going to not focus on the rest of this and just wrap up there. My contact information is on the screen, and I'm always happy to talk more about this, but I don't want to take up any more airtime. Okay, now I can look at the chat.
So a lot of the chat, I had asked people to share their organization.
Oh, perfect.
Presenting, just so we'll know who to follow up with. But a question did come in from Financial Pathways, and she wanted to ask about banks and credit unions who are considered bank on. So I'll leave that for you guys to answer, Paige. But I will say, Lisa, that all of the major banks in North Carolina are participating, and we are working closely with North Carolina Bankers Association to get all of the banks in North Carolina involved, all of them except for all of them are members of the Bankers Association. And been terrific in facilitating this and pushing this on their end as well. And Paige just added right here, you can see which accounts are certified bank accounts.
And you can select by state there. And I'm adding one more link. It says covidbanking.joinbankon, and that's just the landing page we created for all of the ones that have online account opening. So in some cases, particularly in the pandemic, it was important for different nonprofits and entities to make sure that they were offering people opportunities to open accounts from home without having to go into a branch or leave their home. So we do have that specific page just for those that can be opened online.
So are credit unions also participating or just banks?
Yes, we have at least a dozen credit unions. There's definitely not as many. And most of that is because our national connections are with more of the larger financial institutions. And then we get those introductions to credit unions and smaller community banks through our coalitions. So as the number of coalitions are growing throughout the country, we're working with more and more credit unions. And we've actually found a lot of credit unions are really excited about this because these accounts often appeal to younger generations because they often don't have checks on the account, really as that protection against overdraft. They have online banking. People like that there's no overdraft fees because it feels a little safer. And a lot of credit unions have more of an aging membership base and are looking for more ways to appeal to younger account holders. And so this has been a successful way to do that.
So is there a way that we as nonprofits and human service organizations who may already have some relationships with a particular credit union, and I see that they're not on the list, how would we try to see if we could get them involved?
Yeah, I'll let Marquita take that.
I just want to add in that I have reached out to the folks that I've always worked with at the State Employees Credit Union. For some reason, maybe they're busy. They haven't had a chance to get involved or respond yet. I'm not sure about True Lion Federal Credit Union, but I've also reached out to the Carolinas Credit Union League, which is like the NC Bankers for the credit union. So if you guys have contacts, please let us know.
I will email you today, girl.
Yeah, because we're trying, especially the credit unions that are in like the rural areas of North Carolina, and those, they are the bank for that area. I think or not the bank, they're the financial institution for that area. I think it's important. And so I kind of cut you off, Paige. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you talk to Marquita. That's really the beauty of the coalition is you guys can say, okay, who's on this list that's already certified? Like I just saw something come in about Self-Help Credit Union. Self-Help Credit Union is certified, but Coastal Federal Credit Union isn't. So you guys can discuss, okay, who needs to be on this list that's not already here? Who has a contact there? And then what Marquita usually does is she introduces that credit union or bank directly to us at CFE Fund, and we get the ball rolling for you.
Yeah. So this is good. And this is why it's important that we talk with you guys, because I'm not familiar with the credit unions that you work with. So this is good. So let us know. I'm taking notes from the chat, and I'll be following up with you guys about those credit unions.
I see that there's 2 questions in the images, and then there was a question in the chat. And I know some of these will probably be answered when Matt talks, but I know, Kathy, is the question in the chat the same one you're raising your hand for about getting the message out?
No, I had an additional question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of younger people, hundreds of students, especially during the summer, but a lot of our students also work year round. Our challenge has been identifying banks that will offer non-custodial accounts. That is a real challenge for us because we work with students age 15, and they're minors. So right now the banking regulations say that they can't open up their own accounts, but that makes them very vulnerable to parents and other folks who may not have their best interest in mind with their money. So is there any way that we had started working with the Latino Community Credit Union to see if they could offer non-custodial accounts, but is there any work being done toward that goal?
Yes, and I'm not going to steal Matt's thunder because that's basically like a huge aspect of what Matt is about to talk about.
Okay, all right, good deal.
To wrap up my piece and just respond to your first question and just say he's also going to tell you how to get the message out, because in addition, coalitions, of course, have their own marketing campaigns of getting the words out. But what we found to be more effective than necessarily a marketing campaign is what we call program integration. So again, introducing people to these accounts through programs that they're already enrolled in the community, like summer youth employment programs, like workforce development. And so again, I'm gonna let Matt cover all of that. Victor, I saw you raised your hand. I don't want to ignore you. Was there a question?
I had a comment. We'll let Matt go, and then I'll interject my comments at the end.
Okay,
Thanks.
sounds good. I think it's you now, Matt.
See the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks. So hi, everybody. So my name is Matt Trombley. I'm an associate with the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. I'm on the Bank On team with Paige, but my role is program integrations. One reason why I was smiling so much when Kathy was talking is because a major portion of my role is a program/initiative that we run called Summer Jobs Connect, which is around embedding banking access work into summer youth employment programs. So that program has been around for 8 years, going on 9 now. And those are not Bank On certified accounts that we work with because they have youth population kind of considerations, with being non-custodial accounts, having some additional safeguards, flexibility around IDs, so alternate IDs, so allowing youth to use school IDs and such stuff like that. So that is kind of a whole nother facet of program integrations that I'm more than happy to work to talk to you about, and I'll make sure that you all have my contact information. So if you're interested in talking more in depth about kind of those youth accounts, I can kind of go into those. But with what we're talking about today with program integrations, this is really taking the financial institution and kind of building that partnership between social service program and the financial institution, so that the Bank On certified account has that opportunity for you, not for youth, for everyone to open an account. So it's a fairly straightforward kind of inputs and then outcomes, where we have conversations with the program staff to kind of have that buy-in with banking integration. So we really need, we don't want to force a square peg into a round hole, where if a program isn't interested in it, it may not work, because we need that investment on all sides. And so really kind of get that buy-in, create the design and integration. So one unique thing about program integrations that's different than all other programs that CFE Fund does is that we're not creating something new. We want to work in the structure of the social service program to embed the banking access work It's not blowing it up and restarting over. It's really figuring out what touch points are going on with the program and how we can embed the account opening process, direct deposit enrollment, benefits of banking information throughout the program, so that as an individual or participant goes through the program, that they're already getting that information and that those resources and services. It's not something different or new that is kind of an add-on. And that's where then you'll miss out on a lot of folks with that. So with the outcomes, really, with the community kind of being widely aware of the certified accounts and how to use them, people having access to enroll those accounts. And so that's where the program integration comes in, is really using that social service programs opportunity with the individual to open those accounts. So identifying social service partners, a lot like yourselves here today, and y'all being here is already kind of fostering that buy-in for this work. So then it's really figuring out the financial institution partner that works best for your program, and kind of making that partnership, and then creating the program integration so it's sustainable, so that it can live on beyond my lifetime and beyond that. So the two kind of considerations that we always talk about with program partners as well as financial institution partners is this the right time? So making sure that this is presented at a time where banking would be relevant. And so that's where what Paige was talking about, those two different kind of program structures that we typically have program integrations with, is a payment program and a wraparound services. And so this is, for instance, when somebody's signing up to receive a payment, wages, benefits, et cetera, those are those key times to make sure that banking is relevant, because they are going to get paid. And so this is an opportunity to create that avenue or pathway for them to get paid in a safe and affordable method. And then, is this the right demographic? So making sure that the individuals that we're serving is unbanked, that the population is the one that we're hoping to serve, so that we can really make the greatest impact that we can. And so I'll briefly show this again, is what Paige was talking about with the payment structures and the wraparound services. We've had the most success with those payment programs, because that's, like I said, those are those right times where it's a very definitive time where they're getting paid. And so you can really pinpoint that integration point of, okay, this is when we need to talk to individuals about opening a bank account before they get their wages, before they enroll in direct deposit, so that they have all the information they need. Wraparound services is something that we're actually doing a lot. We're kind of getting more and more into, specifically around youth aging out of foster care. We're doing more pilots around that. It's a lot more complicated because that timing isn't as definitive. And so it may take a longer time to really work with folks to figure out what are all of the considerations that they need to make sure that they are opening an account at the right time, and have all of the correct paperwork and requirements to open that account, and so that then they can fund the account as well. Where the payment programs, we know they're going to get paid. So we know the account's going to get funded. We know that the timing is right because they're going to get paid. And so it's easier in a shorter window with that. But these are just a few examples. We're always open to trying something new, to be honest, and always trying to figure out how we can embed the banking access work into pretty much any social service program. But here are some of those examples. So summer youth employment is a big one that we do with WIO as well, with workforce development programs. Tax time is one that's very relevant right now. And we're doing that in, I believe, 4 different cities right now with VITA sites. But then also government benefits, housing programs, and then one that we're working more and more in is college financial aid. So in that critical time that youth are getting paid, or individuals are getting paid federal work study, and how are they getting paid that federal work study? So make sure that it's going into a safe and affordable account. So these are just some very general programmatic benefits for social service programs when we look to embed this work. So one is what we call the super vitamin effect. And that's really where you're building this culture of expectation, as well as educating not just the individual, but potentially the their peers and their families beyond that. Where if you're educating one individual on the benefits of banking, they're opening an account, they have a positive experience with that, that can really bleed out through their family and their peers, so that more folks are interested in understanding the benefits of banking. But also, it really can lead to system changes. We've seen a lot of that with summer youth employment, where a program paid youth by direct deposit for the first time, and now 2 years down the line, that's the only way youth are getting paid is direct deposit. And 90% of youth are getting paid direct deposit. So it's really seeing that culture of expectation change, so that youth and the systems are changing to benefit the individuals. It really reduces payroll costs. So having individuals open bank accounts, enrolling in direct deposit, it can really limit pay card or paycheck options. So it can really reduce those payroll costs as well. The administrative burden in preparing clients for financial success are two other big ones, where we want to give everybody the tools and those financial foundational stepping stones so that they can go on for their own kind of financial success. And a lot of that starts with kind of the bank account. And so a lot of times, specifically, I work with a lot of youth, but they're jumping ahead. So they're talking about investments and all these other things, and they don't have a bank account. So a lot of times it's explaining to them, this is your first step for that career or that financial pathway that you want to take. And so that's a really kind of critical piece. So one thing that I mentioned earlier, this is kind of our holy grail or Bible that we really look towards with program integrations, is the 3 steps of banking. And so I mentioned those before, and the 3 steps are, one, kind of helping clients internalize the benefits of banking. So we want an individual to understand why it's important to open a bank account. What are those benefits beyond once they open an account? We want to give them some education so that it's not just like, hey, open an account, and then that's really it. And they don't know what to then use that account for. They don't know how to utilize it and go kind of take those next steps. So that benefits of banking is a critical piece to really internalize it with clients and individuals so that they know why they're doing what they're doing, and so that they can actually use it for their financial success. The second is providing that opportunity to open bank-on certified accounts, and doing it in a constructive way. So knowing that the population that you work with either does stuff more virtually or needs to do stuff in person, and they need more time to explain it or not, is really a critical piece to understand that opportunity to open accounts, and making sure that your clients are aware of that opportunity so that they can take that opportunity and kind of open an account. And then the last piece is ensuring clients regularly use the account. So the easiest way with that is direct deposit. But beyond that is also bill pay, and also educating them on how to manage that account that they now opened with online or mobile banking, and so that they can kind of balance their paycheck, but online now. And so that they can understand how to kind of continue to use that account to the next steps and their next goals of getting a mortgage, buying a car with an auto loan. So how they can get to those end goals with the account that they just opened. And so we call these the 3 steps of banking, but it really isn't as simple as 1, 2, and 3. We want these to be seamlessly throughout a social service program, so that clients have an opportunity at any point in the program to open an account, but also are getting that education throughout, so that once they have the account, they know how to use it. They can work on their savings goal. They can kind of practice what we're preaching to them by using the account that we just opened with them. And then this is just the last piece, where we take those 3 steps in banking and kind of try and fit them into the social service program, like I was saying. This is a really basic infographic that we use when we talk about summer youth employment programs, and what are their program touch points and what do they look like. And so it's really, and this is a general sense for most summer youth employment programs, but other social service programs, is that outreach application, enrollment, orientation, payroll, and then ongoing training. And so this is kind of that key with program integrations, is mapping out what does the social service program look like? what are these points actually looking like? Are they in-person training? Are they virtual? Are they hybrid? Are they small groups or big group sessions? What are those, all those kind of touch points look like? And so then how can we use that to embed those 3 steps of banking into those touch points at the most apt time? So in that outreach and application, sharing information about the benefits of banking or the opportunity to open an account, what does that look like? What information do they need? So that in the enrollment stage, if we're opening an account, then they have all the information. They're not caught off guard. They're prepared to open an account, but also know why they should open an account. And then going into payroll, that they know their account number, their routing number, they know that information, they know when to enroll in direct deposit, they know how to, they know the benefits for it. And so then they can go on to really utilize the account to its best ability. And then this is just a last piece where it's kind of opening accounts in that programmatic setting. So we kind of have the account opening in that center, and we have different kind of facets to that, where the account opening can be done in different ways. So one way we've seen it is financial institutions visit the program. So they do in-person account opening where Bank of America goes to a social service program. They sit there as clients come in, share information, but can do that remote account opening or online account opening with individuals, so that then they can take their account and routing number immediately and then enroll in direct deposit. Or they have online account opening. So creating a secure site or using technology to allow individuals to open an account online. Another way is having the program visit the financial institution. So if it is a small group, we see this sometimes more with youth, but also smaller adult groups that may then have a branch down the street that has a bank on certified account. And so then they can go to the financial institution, and that can be an education opportunity as well. So having them go to the branch, then they are familiar with the branch, they know who to go to, they know who to talk to, and kind of create a warm handoff between the financial institution and the client, so that they know the institution that they're working with, and they build that relationship, which is a key. The last is facilitating the account opening by program staff. So this is a unique opportunity sometimes that a financial institution can take, where if they feel comfortable, they can provide the program staff with all of the application information or the online account opening information, and they can trust the program staff to kind of collect that information, work with their clients to fill that out, and then have that program staff take it to the branch and fill out that information. There are some things, always considerations with all 4 of those different types, but it's something that we kind of get into the details with program integrations. And so some of those considerations are in that kind of funnel little image where it talks about staffing. So that's a big issue. So does the financial institution have the staffing capacity to visit the program or have the program visit it? Do they have the technology for the online account opening? Does the program staff have the capacity to facilitate that account opening? So that's always a consideration. The other 2 major considerations is opening deposit. So understanding if the opening deposit is $25 or if it's $0, understanding if the client has those funds or is going to be able to use the direct deposit and that next paycheck to satisfy that opening deposit. So working with the financial institution to kind of pinpoint the timing of when they're opening accounts, so that that can be satisfied or taken care of or seated in some way. And the last is client ID. And so this is a major consideration specifically with youth, but other adults coming from reentry programs, youth aging out of foster care, is making sure that they have the right identification for the financial institution. A lot of institutions sometimes will allow for some alternative IDs, so school IDs paired up with a social security card or birth certificate, so that if the youth doesn't have a state ID, or working with individuals to get that state ID so that then they have that ready to go for that. That last piece is check systems. So working with that financial institution to have a partnership so that they understand the clientele that they're working with, and so that they can reach out to the program staff or the bank on team to let us know if somebody is denied by check systems and if why. That's a consideration with youth accounts typically, knowing that if a youth has fraud on their check systems report, it's most likely not their fault. Most likely it's somebody that had their name attached to another account And so working with the financial institution to be flexible in that regard. And then it all kind of filters down to that account opening method. Those are all those kind of considerations to think about for the population that we're serving. I know that was a lot. And it's all different for each program, each social service. And that's the unique thing about program integrations. It's really not the same for everybody. It's always a little different depending on the population you're serving, the accounts that we're working with. But it's something that we can really work together to kind of figure out and what works best.
Thank you, Matt. Do any of you guys, I see Kathy has her hand raised, and we're looking for, I hope a lot of you have a lot more questions, particularly thinking about your own programs and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. We're just interested in your initial thoughts on how this would work. So go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you, Marquita, and thanks, Matt. That was a lot of really great information. I guess my very first question is, have you guys identified any local banks that will offer non-custodial accounts? And then secondly, we've been working with America Saves, specifically their America Saves for Young Workers program since, wow, six, 7 years ago. And we followed that process that you laid out for the Summer Jobs Connect with them. They are an organization out of DC. So I was just trying, through your presentation, I was just trying to see the difference between the two approaches. And do you all work with them, or I was just trying to see any distinctions between what you all, the Bank On program and America Saves.
Yeah, so America Saves, I know works with some of the other kind of cities that we work with. So our Summer Jobs Connect program works with, now we're looking at 25 cities that we're actually working with across the country. Some of them use America Saves specifically for their kind of savings pledge. And so working with youth to kind of set the savings goal, and they may use their online materials.
Yes, we do.
But with us, we really work with the program, the Summer Youth Employment Program, to identify that financial institution partner, create those account terms, and kind of then embed that into the actual process and program. We have had luck in those cities. So we do, that is the crux of that program, is working with the financial institution to set up a non-custodial account. And so we actually use our Summer Jobs Connect Youth Account Priorities. And so these are account term priorities that we based off of the national account standards. And so they have a lot of the same themes in them, but they have those youth considerations. So the alternative IDs, the no monthly maintenance fee is 0, making sure it's a checklist checking account. And so those are some considerations. And the big difference with our youth account priority account terms and the national account standards is that they aren't standards, and the way that we don't certify those accounts with those programs. We work with the financial institution to get the account terms, make sure they align with it, and they don't have to be publicly available to everybody. So it can be an account specifically offered to just the youth in the program.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it's
so
possible
that's where, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking it's possible that we could work with Bank On while still working with America Saves.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so we're actually seeing more financial institutions and programs look to having a youth account as well as a Bank On account because it's a really great transition. Because that's a big question we get with the youth accounts that we work with and with those youth is, okay, now the program may serve 14 to 24-year-olds. Okay, now when they turn 24, what are they going to? Or when they turn 21, what account are they going to transition to? And if a financial institution has those youth account, but then also has a Bank On account, it's a really easy and safe transition for the youth. And so we're seeing more institutions trying to set that process up so that they can then create that long-term kind of relationship with that youth or individual to be kind of a long-term banking relationship.
Okay, great. Thank you.
One example of that is Bank of America. So Bank of America has had a bank on certified account for a number of years, the Safe Balance Advantage account. And I would say maybe 2 years ago, they made a major change where it was 18 and up to open the account non-custodially. And then they moved that down to 16. So that was really neat because we love when an account that meets the youth account priorities is also a bank on certified account. So we can highlight it in both of the initiatives. Really, the Summer Youth Employment Programs and the Summer Jobs Connect initiative is an example of a program integration. So you could have within your Bank On coalition, you're working on 20 different program integrations that mostly serve adult workforce or adult populations. And then you might have one or two that are serving youth. And so like Matt was saying, when we are working with youth, we just like to add a few additional safeguards to those accounts, like the non-custodial aspect and like not having a monthly fee. So it's really just the Bank On standards, but even safer and even more affordable when we're working with youth.
That's great. Thank you, Paige.
Typically with those accounts, Kathy, that we've kind of negotiated or set up is with credit unions, just because of the nature of the summer youth employment program. Being very invested in the community is kind of key. So looking for a local credit union that already is invested in that work or that is looking to kind of go into that field. They also have a little bit more flexibility than those national banks. Bank of America is the only large bank that offers a kind of account that fits our youth account priorities. For 16 and up, Wells Fargo does, but it's only 17 and up. And so there's a few now, but it's still kind of a rare thing and something that we're working to kind of push more and more.
That's amazing. Bank of America has funded our youth employment, our internship program since 2017. And they also provide a platform for our virtual workforce development. So that's a great synergy.
Yeah, so I would obviously reach out to them first. But then specifically, if you work with a branch manager, working with a branch manager to see if they're able to come to the program in person to open an account, or if you can bring youth to their branch and have them open an account. It just allows for more flexibility than having the youth have to go through an online portal or anything like that, or go into a branch by themselves. It just allows for that uptake to be quicker and easier.
Thank you.
So I'm interested in hearing from some of the other folks up there on the call, particularly those of you that are at nonprofits. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, are there any like initial opportunities that you're thinking, this could work or this couldn't work? You know, do you have any concerns? I'm really interested in hearing from you regarding this.
Well, I know that I'll jump in. This is Lisa with Financial Pathways in Winston-Salem. And I know that, there's always lots of information and Zooms and meetings that I attend about trying to, get some connections with, the nonprofits, and then also with banking access. And sometimes it is hard because of the different things that people have that prevent them from getting accounts. But it is another piece of, that financial education, financial literacy piece, to help people. So I think no matter what the organizations do, if they're doing anything around that, or they're referring them to places that do that, talking about what prevents you from getting a bank account, or talking about the check systems and being able to check their check systems, because you can actually do that just like you would your credit report. So I think a lot of it does go along with education. And just like you said, with programming, we never really had a big way of trying to make that work with programming until just recently. And I know I had already let Marquita know, but I'm starting a small match savings program pilot program, and a local credit union, True Reliant Federal Credit Union, who is not on the Bank On list, is not only the one that funded us, but is also going to provide the bank accounts for any individuals that are unbanked so that they can, follow with this program. So, it's not really until this instant when I realized, oh, well, we do have a way that we can try and help other financial institutions. Because, a lot of them are trying to get into the community because everybody knows that there's so many people that they are not, including in. I mean, we have so many community banks and branches and true line and credit unions that are claiming that they're there for the people. And so now we really need to call them out on it and get them involved. And I think that this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Because, we are always trying to talk to people about different ways to bank. And whether your thoughts are that prepaid cards or pay cards from employers or benefits or whatever, whether you think they're good or not, if that's all they have, that's all they have. And sometimes it just comes down to education and learning how accounts work. And what you have to do to what's your responsibility as a consumer, and then what the bank's responsibility is as a financial institution, and to be able to hopefully use the resources that they have as well. But I do know that for the pandemic, I don't know what it's like everywhere where you guys are, but bank branches, a lot of them are closed, or you can only go in certain times, or there's banks that have been closed, period. And so hopefully that will start improving now that mask mandates and all these kinds of things are going away, because access has not only been just getting one, but the physical access of actually going into a bank and talking to somebody because of some shortage or something or another that seems to always be happening. But and I know I've just rambled a whole lot, but that's all I had to say.
Well, it's helpful. Your perspective is always helpful. So thank you. It's good to hear about the challenges and what you guys are thinking. I see Victor with his hand raised. Hey, Victor. Oh, he lowered it. Maybe not. Oh, there you go. Okay. You're muted, Victor. Victor,
You're still talking. Victor, you muted.
Okay, I'm good now. Yeah, so thank you. So just a couple quick points. One, for those nonprofits asked about credit unions and banks, in my experience, you approach both of them the same. There's no different in financial institutions. So whatever you do, you approach the same. I think the data is showing that, I think Lisa made a good point, is that with WIOLA came out, workforce development was a big push, and we're seeing return back to those 4-H classes and across the country where folks are getting more apprenticeship training and alternatives. Unfortunately, over the last decade or so, financial institutions at large did not look at millennials or that group as worthy to be pursued. And because of that, you have 67% now don't trust banks. They look at alternative services, where it's going to be, digital platforms, and they're hard to convince to come back in. The same thing with returning citizens and those who need second chance accounts because of the fees. And so I think now, as we come back into the normal with COVID and with Bank On, America Saves, I think it gives you who have wraparound services the opportunity to begin to build those relationships. Because I'm sure some of you or most of you have a bank or financial person on your board. And I think that's where the conversation starts, is just really been able to coach them to be able to go back to the leadership who make the credit decisions, as well as the risk decisions about, the long-term impact. It's not going to be transactional. It's not going to be an immediate wealth account. It's not going to be a commercial loan. But if you can grow that client, data has shown for those banks who have begun to invest in youth workforce development, have a long-term more sustainability in certain communities, and they don't have to go back and reinvent themselves with a special. But it is something you have to look at as an investment, both in philanthropic as well as in cost of reduction of fees. And the last thing I would say is that no matter who you work with, there's a pathway to get them back into mainstream banking. And the importance of that is just, we just seen even last week with the volatility with some of the, I'll call payment platforms, the saving platforms, who were tied to some of the cryptocurrency, whatever, with the volatility in the market, are calling, their banks in which their money is drawn out of into this virtual platform and say, hey, my money is stolen. Well, the moment they take the money out of a FDIC insured account and put it in virtual space, then it's not the obligation of the bank to insure that. And I think from an education standpoint, particularly young people, we got to make sure that we really give them the tools to say, hey, you got to have, no matter what you do in this country, you got to have a depository institution to flow your money through. Whether you get it on a plastic card or not, some bank is housing that fund, whether it's a bank or credit union. And I think it's just a misnomer to think that you cannot operate in the States or any country without having a bank relationship. So that's important. And I think, like what Matt said, before you start investing in crypto and all that, you got to understand how to get a bank account. You got to get a job, you got to get money. And I think a lot of times we just forget that. But I work with, I think right now, I don't know how many bank owners I work with across the country, but it really starts with partnerships conversation between the nonprofits and the bank to kind of figure out what works for your client and what works for your area. And I think you can get an agreement, but any agreement is a start. So I just said start at the beginning. If you get a checking account and then work with the fees to get it certified as a national account. And that way you can begin to build it out. But just keep on asking. And we have a lot of resources, as Marquita knows, on our website. The data that Paige and Matt talk about, the unbanked and underbanked. We also have a template on, safe accounts, and small dollars accounts to help you with that, as well as a money smart curriculum that can be useful to you all as you walk through this. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to take off. I was just on 3 calls this morning. I did Alabama, did Florida, and I did Arkansas. And Alabama is trying to compete with Marquita to see who can launch theirs the fastest. So
we're good friends. We're good friends. I'm good friends with Kim in Alabama.
So everybody just join. Just sign up to be part of the team for her, and whatever you can bring will be of value.
Good stuff. Thank you, Victor. So I want to be mindful of time. We've got 2 minutes left. I'll be following up with each of you guys offline. It may make sense for us to have one-on-one conversations or to provide you some more guidance, but thank you for getting on the Zoom and thank you for all that you're doing. And you'll be hearing from me again real soon. So thank you. Y'all have a great day, a great evening now. 2 o'clock.